Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so I am here as your backup, emergency replacement for my friend, Venerable Yuttadhammo in Canada. I met him in Chiang Mai some years ago. He was a new monk. And I've invited him several times in Bangkok to give talks for my group. So now we are nearly 1/3 of the way through the meditation retreat. I hope you are all doing okay. Some years ago, when I was first a Mahajula student, I had 5 or 6 vasa, been ordained 5 or 6 years, and my Upajjhaya, my teacher, he said that to stay in the monastery, he said, you have to do something. You cannot just stay and not do anything. So for some 4 years, I had stayed in the monastery and just do the Tamwat Chow, Tamwat Yen, and then was learning Thai. So I had the choice either to study Naktam and Pali inside the temple, but your Thai must be very good. They make no account that you are not Thai in the exams. Or to study in Mahajula. So I decided to get the degree in Mahajula, Jittavidya, psychology degree. Because just to stay in the temple and not make the effort to do something to get better, to advance in your life, is not a good life plan. So I moved to Bangkok and I joined Mahajula, and it was really difficult for me because I was 32 years old. All my classmates are 17, 18 years old. So I feel uncomfortable. But at that time, there is no English course, no English medium for Mahajula in BA. So everything is taught in Thai. And my Thai, ngungu blah blah, it means snake, snake, fish, fish. That means not very good. And so I had a lot of difficulty to study Mahajula because my Thai is so bad. So I was the dummy in the class. I like to think of myself as quite smart, quite intelligent. I read a lot of books. Last year, I read 72 books. I finish one book every 5 days. This year, I've read about 45 books, nearly one book every week. But I was the dummy in the class because I can't speak Thai. I can read a little bit, but so I have to work very hard. And also, I'm the only white person, so I get a lot of attention. Every time the teacher asks a question, he look around and like, oh, Prat Bandit, point at me. Why you always ask me? So one of the students in the class, he also lives in Wat Pak Nam, Pasijara, same as me. And we left to go to Mahajula one day. We left the temple together. We got on the bus together. There's the roadworks. The bus takes a long time. So we arrived late together. We walk into the classroom together. And the teacher points at me and says, "Why are you late?" The other student, we arrived together. So I had a difficult time in my first years in Mahajula. Only one thing, the teachers would allow me to take the exam in English. So they would write a special English exam for me, separate, so I could answer in English. All except for one subject. One subject they don't allow me to take in English. And it's the worst subject of all. Dakasat, logic. Logic is difficult enough in your own language, but in another language, very difficult. But we have to be prepared to make the effort to improve and further ourselves. I think my Upajjhaya was correct, and he was right, that we must make this effort. Otherwise, you are living, he called Engsabai. Engsabai means living easily, comfortably. It's not so good. So coming on this meditation retreat, we should view the same way. I saw one student before we came here, international student. I said to him, "Are you coming on the meditation retreat with us?" He said, "No, Ajahn, I've completed my 30 days meditation retreat already. No need to go." What do you think? I told him, meditation retreat is not prison sentence. It's not terrible suffering. You should want to go. He said, "Oh, no, only 30 days, then I'm free. I don't need to go." So, for me also, I don't need to come here. I am a volunteer. I come because I wanted to come. Because the practice of liberating the mind is a beautiful thing to do. I know that sometimes seems like suffering, seems like torture, toraman. Sometimes seems that way. But what would you rather be doing? The tendency of the mind, animal mind, is to always seek what is easy, what is pleasant. In the teaching of psychology, Sigmund Freud, he noticed this. He called it the pleasure principle. That means that animals seek out what is more pleasurable and reject what is not pleasurable. And all animals will do this automatically, including human beings. And the promise of something pleasurable is what Sigmund Freud, he's the great psychologist, what he called drive or motivation. He said this gives you motivation to act, to do something. So you may observe here, there are some cats. I like cats. I see a cat, immediately I want to go and touch the cat. Yeah. My dream one day, I want to have my own monastery, but no monks, only cats. Cats know how to practice meditation. They don't carry around difficult problems. You give them enough food, they're happy, they can sit all day long. Perfect yogi, perfect monk, cats. So the cat, here I saw it, was sitting in the sunlight in the morning. You know why? The body temperature of a cat is higher than the body temperature of a human being. So it likes to find the warm temperatures, warm place to sit. It's pleasant. We'll automatically seek out what is pleasant. Human beings, we do the same thing, right? We seek out that which is more pleasant, that which is more easy, that which is more pleasing, automatically. So I see sometimes the monks when they're eating and they reach for the fruit, automatically squeeze the fruit. Which one is the best piece of fruit? Or there's some food on the table, they take their fork, flick, automatically pick the best piece of fruit. When you come here and you bakgot, I don't know in English, you put up your tent, automatically look for the best place to put up your tent, the right distance from the bathroom, not too far from the sala. This tendency that we have always automatically picking out, looking for what is easy, what is more comfortable. But this is not a good way to develop your life. It's not a good way to develop your mind. That's why you have come to study Mahajula. You want to get a degree. You want to learn something. You want to develop new skills to advance your life. So this student, I told him, just because you completed your 30 days meditation does not mean you don't have to do more. You can come volunteer for more. He said, oh, he's not coming. So don't view the meditation retreat as something difficult, something to get through. The first time I came on the meditation retreat with Mahajula, I was sitting over there. 700 people on the retreat. Your knee touching this person, this knee touching this person. The next person in front of you is here. Very tight. For me, it was very much suffering. You have it much easier. You have some space. That was 20 years ago. In 20 years, I advanced from that seat to this seat. 20 years, I advanced 10 meters. Half a meter per year, I advance. And every day in the retreat, I calculate what percentage of the retreat have I finished. Like today, I have completed 18% of the meditation retreat, 22%, 82% remaining. And the next day, I think now I am 23% through the meditation retreat, nearly 1/4. And I'm counting until the end of the retreat. Fact is the wrong attitude. We should view it as the opportunity to advance ourselves. So Ajanta, he invited me to come on the meditation retreat. I'm happy to come. Of course, I would prefer to be in my room in Bangkok. I have good internet. I have my seat, my chair. I know how to get the kind of food that I like to eat. It's easier, right? It's nicer. It's more comfortable for me. But I will still come to join you on the retreat because I love to do it. I love to train my mind. The teaching of the Buddha. Refrain from evil, practice what is good, and purify the mind. The opportunity and the space to purify the mind. I will volunteer. I don't need to have 30-day torture sentence from the university to make me come. I'm glad to come. I'm glad to have the opportunity to volunteer, even though it's difficult. My body aches down here, I have a pain down my shoulder here. So Sigmund Freud, he said that all animals have the tendency towards pleasure principle. He called this the id. ID, id, means that you automatically will reach for what is better, more comfortable, more convenient, less effort. But he also said that for human beings, sometimes we do things that is not more comfortable, more pleasant. Sometimes we do something because it's the right thing to do, because we've learned that doing something that is difficult is better than doing something that is easy. And he called this the ego. Now, some of you familiar with the term ego. And usually we mean it in a bad sense. That means somebody has a big ego. They like to hold themselves. They like to have power or authority. They think they are better, bigger, stronger, more beautiful than other people. But that is not the meaning of the word ego in psychology. In psychology, the word ego is opposed to the id. The id has the pleasure principle. The ego has delayed gratification principle. Delayed gratification. That means I will do something that even though now it's difficult for me to do, the reward, the gratification, the benefit will come later. So for a child, Sigmund Freud was very interested in how we develop these principles, how this comes about. He said that in a child, when you are born, Your parents, especially your mother, gives you everything you want. You are hungry? Wah! She come and feed you. You're too cold? Wah! She comes and makes you warm. You want to poop? Pee-pee and poo-poo. This is his teaching. You cry, wah! Your mother comes and cleans you up because you have no idea. You're a child, baby. Then at about the age of, so the baby learns, if I want something, scream, I will get that thing. The world seems to make sense to a baby. It's easy rule to follow. I want something, just open my mouth and cry, I get it. Do you ever see adults still behave the same way? They want something, and they cry, they fight, they complain. It's not fair, it's not right, it shouldn't be like this. They didn't grow up, still behave like a child, following the pleasure principle like an animal. So, according to Sigmund Freud, as the child gets older, suddenly the rules will change. The rules change. And your mom no longer gives you everything that you need when you want it because you open your mouth and cry. She tells you there are rules. There is a time for feeding, not every time you want. There is a time to poop, to go to the bathroom. Really, he talked a lot about going to the bathroom. And you must learn the rules. So you want to poop, you must go to the right place at the right time. Not any time you want, anywhere that you want. No, the rules change. And to a child, this is confusing. Usually a 6-year-old child is confusing. The child doesn't understand, why have the rules changed? Before, my mother was this beautiful angel, came and gave me what I need when I need it. Every time I have some wanting, some desire, she provides for me. Now the rules have changed and I don't get it. I want food. Cry out. No, you don't get food. You wait for the right time when I decide to give you food. You want the bathroom and this is wrong. You do in the right place at the right time. So the child learns that there are rules and regulations. And by following what is the right rule and regulation, your life will get better, even though you don't get what you want. According to Freud, if you learn this lesson properly when you are a child, when you are an adult, you will be smarter and wiser. If you fail to learn this lesson properly as a child, as an adult, you will behave more like a child. I want this, I want that, I don't like this. I don't want to come on meditation retreats, or I don't want to live in the forest. It's too cold. Cry out, complain, the mind fighting. The Buddha also gave this same teaching. Do you remember? he talked about the horse. He said, there are two kinds of horse. The ordinary rough horse that you use in the fields, and the thoroughbred horse, the trained horse. So if you are a farmer, you tie your horse to the yoke or the plow and you beat it, and it will plow the fields, will do some work for you, but doesn't like it. But the thoroughbred horse, the well-bred horse, can draw the chariot of the king. The thoroughbred horse, when it wakes up in the morning, it thinks to itself, what will my master have me do today? What will my master have me learn today? What new things must I perform? That is the trained horse. The untrained horse wakes up and it thinks, food, 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 food. Do you remember this sutta? He said to monks, monks, be like the well-trained horse. Don't be like the untrained horse. Same principle that Sigmund Freud pointed to. The tendency of the mind, on the one hand, to behave like a child, like a baby, just to get what it wants. And the tendency, on the other hand, the mature mind, the sensible mind, stable mind, will seek to learn, seek to advance, seek to grow. This, in psychology, is called the ego. The ego is a good thing in psychology. It's something that you must train, you should practice, something that follows the wisdom principle, not the pleasure principle. So the Buddha was teaching his monks the same thing. Try to be one who follows what is good and what is right, and not what is convenient and pleasurable. Some psychologists sought to prove this principle in experiment. And they developed an experiment which now is very famous. It's called Marshmallow Experiment. Have you seen this? Yes? Marshmallow. Marshmallow is a small, sweet candy. It's very soft, very sweet, very tasty. For me also, I like marshmallow. So they take a child and they put a child into a room. There's a chair, there's a table, there's a camera, and on the table is a marshmallow. One marshmallow. Nothing else in the room. And they bring the child into the room and they put the child on the seat in front of the marshmallow. Immediately the child, the eyes open. Look at them, nothing else to look at in the room, just this marshmallow. And the psychologist says to the child, have you seen this, anybody? You've seen this? The psychologist says to the child, if you want, you can eat the marshmallow. But if you don't eat the marshmallow when I leave the room, when I come back, if you did not eat the marshmallow sweet candy, Then I will give you 2 marshmallows. Then the psychologist leaves the room. What does the child do? What would you do when you are a child? You grab the marshmallow, you eat it. So the camera follows the child, and it's very funny. You should look this up on YouTube. Many times this experiment has been done, you see on YouTube. And the child will be there, like, looking at the marshmallow, press it, sniff it. Sometimes they lick it. But they don't want to put it in their mouth. Sometimes they put it in their ear instead of the mouth. Oh, I want it. Then they push it away. No, I look somewhere else. But you know the eye just come back to look at the marshmallow. Sometimes they put it in their mouth and suck it, and take out, put it back on the table again. It's torture for the child. One child is very clever. He picks up the marshmallow and he scoops out the inside of the marshmallow and he eats it. And then he put the rest of the marshmallow back on the table so it looks like it is complete. This experiment is designed to show the battle, the fight in the mind between the id and the ego. The id follows pleasure principle, wants to get what it wants. The ego follows the wisdom principle. It knows what is good for it, what is right for it, what will give you a reward later on, even if it's difficult now. And these two parts in the mind, they are fighting, they are battling. And you see the battle in the children in the experiment. You see it in their mind, like, oh, I want to eat it. No, I won't eat it. Well, I'll sniff it. No, I won't sniff it. I'll hide it. Some of them, they start counting on their fingers or they close their eyes so they don't see it, because they know what is good and what is right. These children are only 6 years old. Well, these experiments were followed for a long time, and they would test these young children and follow them in later life. Now, some of the children would immediately eat the marshmallow. Some of the children, they would fight with themselves, then they eat the marshmallow. Some of the children, they don't eat the marshmallow, but clearly suffering. Some of the children, they hear what the psychologist has told them. Okay, I won't eat the marshmallow. Not such a fight in their mind. This is what the Buddha was pointing to when he said, be like the well-trained racehorse. Do not be like the farm horse. The racehorse wonders, what will my master have me learn today? The farm horse thinks only food, food. In later life, the children who easily controlled their desire and did not eat the marshmallow, they did better in school. They got better jobs. When they got married, they were more likely to stay together with the same person, be loyal and faithful to the same person. And, interestingly, they are less likely to go to prison in their lifetime. The children that could not control their desire, that immediately take the marshmallow, they are less likely to complete school. They are less likely to get a good job. They're more likely to separate from their husband or their wife. quickly, and they are more likely to go to prison. It shows that even at a young age, we have strong tendency in the mind. Your character, maybe it comes from your previous lifetime. Who knows? But if those children who had difficulty controlling their desire were taught and were trained and given the opportunity by the psychologists, then they too would go on to a better lifetime. Shows that even though we have the characteristic in the heart, in the mind, we can still train ourselves. In this case, train ourselves in the control, or I like the word restraint of desire. The Buddha used this word restraint a lot of the time. You want to have the food, practice restraint. You see a beautiful girl, beautiful boy, you practice restraint. You see some money, practice restraint. Always restraining the mind from this tendency to reach out and take what is easy, what is pleasant, and to develop what is not easy and not pleasant, but that will give you the rewards. This is why we come on a meditation retreat. We make things easy for you. The food is provided for you. You don't need to cook it. You don't need to grow it. You don't need to clean it up after we're finished. Provide for you. Nice and easy. Here they provide the bamboo poles for you to hang your tent, to be convenient. Now I see all of you have the Western style tent. When I came here, no tent allowed, only the mosquito net. You have the umbrella and the mosquito net. You have a plastic mat on the floor. And the ants, they can get in. Yeah, I didn't like it so much. I took a plastic mat and I sewed the plastic mat into my mosquito net so no ants can get inside. Hundreds of students, they come along and they admire, oh, you have very nice glot mosquito net. I'm very proud. So we try to train ourselves in this principle of restraint. Restraining yourself. I know it's not easy to sit for a long time. Sometimes when you are walking, meditation, you look around, you open one eye, you look around and you see some of these guys meditating very beautifully. Some people look very enlightened when they're meditating. You think that person, she must be an arahant, sits so beautifully and still. But for me, I have only pain, boredom. What do you want to be doing? You want to be on Facebook? Take pictures of me. Here I am meditating. No, this is not a picture of you meditating. This is a picture of you playing with your phone, taking pictures for Facebook. So we have the opportunity to develop the meditation practice. I know it can be painful in the body. I know the mind, the tendency of the mind automatically will reach out. You want to be comfortable. You want to have something more pleasant. But that is not the way to advance. It's not the way to train the mind. That's why I'm happy to come on a meditation retreat. Nobody forced me. Nobody's paying me any money. Nobody giving me praise. My abbot in Bangkok, he does not know I am here. When I get back to Bangkok, he won't say, "Oh, Venerable Pandit, sadhu, sadhu, you do meditation." He doesn't know. I come here because I love to do it. I love to train the mind, restrain from evil, practice what is good, and purify the mind. Visuddhimagga, purification of the mind. How do we purify the mind? According to the Buddha, according to the teaching of the Buddha, you had many, many thousands of lifetimes in the past. You've done so many things in the past, good and evil. I think about this a lot. I wonder, in my previous lifetime, if I am born in another place, what is my characteristic? I like to study history. World War II, Nazi Germany. German people are nice people, smart people. Why did they follow Adolf Hitler? Why, we want to know. I wonder, if I am born as a German in Germany in World War II, will I follow Adolf Hitler? Yeah. Now my mind says, no, I would not do that. But at that time, if I am born in that time and situation, maybe. Before him, Napoleon Bonaparte, the French general, he said he can have 70,000 young men, soldiers, die in battle every year. He calculates, in the country of France, how many people can I bring into my army and will die? 70,000. I cannot understand the thinking to be so cold with human life. But if I am born in France at that time, sure, I would join the army of Napoleon Bonaparte, march into war and die. For what reason? What purpose? I think if in another lifetime before that, I'm born a farmer and I care about the weather and my potatoes. Hopefully, I am a potato farmer in my previous lifetime, not a rice farmer, because I don't like rice so much. I like potato. I don't understand, in Thailand, you eat rice every day. For me, I want to eat potato every day. I live in Asia. You don't like potatoes in Asia. So if I'm a farmer, I care only about the potatoes and the weather. If I am born as a female, as a wife, do I blame my husband for everything? In my previous lifetime, I'm sure I did that. If I'm born a male, did I blame my wife for everything? The Buddha said that the amount of blood that you have spilled in previous lifetimes is more than the oceans of the planet. So many people you have killed in your previous lifetime, taken their blood, taken their life, caused suffering for so many people. You have done it. I have done it. Also, previous lifetimes, the amount of times you did good things, also uncountable. So we have this karma that we are born with from many, many lifetimes. Now, I should tell you, many Westerners don't believe in previous lifetimes. They come, we like Buddhism, we like the monks, we like the Dalai Lama, we like Thich Nhat Hanh, we like the idea, training peacefulness, training meditation, we like this idea. But previous lifetimes, no. Many Westerners feel like that. Well, I can't say what is true or what is not true for your previous lifetimes. But I do know, according to the Buddha's teaching, it is true that we have had many lifetimes. I can say that for a fact. That is the Buddha's teaching. Now I trust, I have faith, and I have confidence in the Buddha's teaching for myself. So I wonder, all this karma from previous lifetimes, all these bad things that I've done, how do I clean up? How do I fix the things that went wrong in the past? Purify my mind. Must be so many lifetimes of terrible things I've done in my mind. How do I clean up? Teaching of the Buddha, purify the mind. Sigmund Freud, he also had this idea. He said, all your problems in your lifetime, they come from when you are a child. Your development as a child. Something goes wrong, that causes your problems in your adult life. So, if you go to the psychologist practices according to Freud, the psychologist wants to know about your childhood, you and your parents, you and your brothers and sisters. Later, psychologists disagreed with Freud. Doesn't matter so much what happened in your childhood, they said. You are a human being. Your character as a human being, they said, is driven by your hopes and aspirations for your future, not by the things that happened in your past. This was a very big, important change in psychology. According to Freud, he's only concerned what happened when you were a child. Did you learn the right lessons when you were a child? But later psychologists, they were called humanists, they said what happened in your past does not matter so much. Your character is driven by your hopes and aspirations for the future. Even if bad things happen to you as a child, set your intention on the future, what is good and what is right. This will drive your character. So I think the same thing was taught in Buddhism. But the Buddha pointed to past lives, not just when you are a child, but previous lives. He did not say, you have to fix what happened in your previous life. all the karma that you are born with. He never gave methods for you to go back and fix that. I've seen some people, they advise this practice: develop your abhinya, your psychic powers. Remember your previous life. Find the people in your previous life that you had conflict with and offer them forgiveness, friendship. I'm not so sure that this is the correct practice. I didn't see the Buddha teach like that, to go back and fix the old karma. You are born with your karma, that's it. This is what you have to work with. Your karma right now, here, this lifetime, in this situation, you are lucky. We are born in a time there is enough food. Our society is safe enough. If you are born 100 years ago, unlikely you live past 40 years old. For me now, I'm 52 years old, already better than most human beings in the entire history of the planet Earth, because I'm born in a fortunate time. Our medicine is better. In Australia, I like to walk around the graveyard where they bury all the people. Huge graveyard in Sydney. And there is a new section of the graveyard, because in Christian tradition, they say that there will become a time of God, and God will raise the good people back to life. So they don't want to have cremation. They don't want to burn their body, because they believe their body will come back to life. I'm not sure how it works. You are 6 foot under the ground, your body rotten, decayed for 100, 200, 500 years. How will it come back to life? You'll be beating, trying to get out of the ground. But they had this idea. And that's why they would bury the dead people. In Buddhism, we don't have that teaching. The bones is just rupa. Operates for a while, then is finished. Like this guy over here. He operates for a while. Then it's just rupa, it's just matter, it's finished. So, in Buddhism, we don't have to worry about the past karma. This lifetime, this place here, we have a very fortunate situation. I wanted to say, in the graveyard in Australia, it always says on the stone how old people were when they died. You never see anybody 80 years old, 70 years old, 50 years old. All the gravestone, 2 years old, 4 years old, 15 years old. These people died. Incredible. Now we have this opportunity. For me, I reflect on this. I'm born with the opportunity to come to do the practice. I will take this opportunity. I'm very fortunate. When I was younger, I never heard about Buddhism. Nobody taught it in the school. I had no idea what it was. When I was about 17 years old, I was driving with my father. We were delivering some goods. And we drove along a row of houses. And in front of one house, there was a man sitting, meditating. I'd never seen that before. I had no idea this was a real thing. And I said to my father, "What's he doing?" My father said, "He's wasting his time." No idea what he's doing. Only when I was 20 years old, I went to a library and I found a book on Buddhism. I thought, I want to learn about things in the world. So I borrowed the book from the library. I read about Buddhism. There's enlightenment. There's a goal to humanity. There's an end in sight. Life is not just suffering. There's a mechanism, a practice. When I finish the book, I get on the phone. I look around. I want to go and find somewhere to practice. Quite desperate. I was in New Zealand. The monastery was 4-hour drive away. Immediately I book time off and I go to the monastery. I think about this because in Thailand I see people, you live right next to the monastery, not 4 hours, it's 4 minutes. But you don't go. I see the workers, they're building in the monastery and they sit just outside the monastery drinking their beer, talking with each other. So you're wasting your opportunity. You are 1 minute away from the monastery. So I'm very grateful that in this lifetime I was able to come across Buddhism. In that time, no YouTube. Now anybody can flick on YouTube, have Dhamma talks. At that time, I would have to drive 4 hours to the monastery, have to buy a tape cassette of the Dhamma talk, get the cassette of the talk, put in the 2 cassettes together, press play and press record, and wait for an hour for the recording to go onto the tape. That's because I'm old. Now what do? You press play on YouTube. There. I was desperate to get hold of Dhamma talks. So, for many lifetimes, I have been fighting in an army for Adolf Hitler, complaining about my wife or my husband. I've been planting crops. The weather destroys my crop, destroys my life expectation, very likely to die at 5, 10, 15 years old. But now, here in this lifetime, I have that opportunity. That's why I like to come on the meditation retreat if I can. I will make the effort that I can to open up the space in the mind. All these thoughts and ideas and beliefs that I've had in previous lifetimes. Now all the thoughts and ideas and beliefs I have in this lifetime, are they different from previous lifetimes? According to the Buddha, he teaches a method. You can step out of your previous karma. You can step out of this tendency to always reach what is convenient, what is pleasant, what is pleasurable. You can step out of the tendency or the habit for thinking and views and opinions. I really appreciate this teaching. In my mind, I have a lot of views and opinions. You ask me about global warming, I can talk to you for 5 hours, easily. You ask me about psychology, I can teach you for a long time. I like to teach my class on psychology in Mahajula. I told you I read a lot of books. I can tell you a lot of things that I read in a lot of books. But what I really want, the thing that I've seen that is of benefit. And well, okay. What I really want is to be able to step out of this thinking mind. All these ideas and beliefs and opinions that I have developed now in this lifetime, my previous lifetime, I had other views, ideas. Another lifetime, another lifetime, another lifetime. I can step out of the karma. Step into the open space of the mind. Develop this new quality that if nobody teaches you about, you don't know. If nobody taught you about meditation, Dhamma, you don't know. The chance that you will come across this by accident, very slim, to be a Pacceka Buddha, right? So I want to finish with reminding you this experiment of the Marshmallow Experiment that shows the fighting in the mind. Sigmund Freud is very smart in some ways. He said, you as a human being, as a person, you are not one person. You like to integrate yourself. I have this person, this place, these ideas, these views, but no. You're not one thing, one person. You are a mass of fighting drives. Your mind is at war. One part of you wants this, another part of you wants that. You are pulled around by desires, by fears, by views and opinions. Right? You can call in Buddhism kilesa. Or you might call asava, pulled around by the tendency for sense desire, pulled around by the tendency to have a self, consider yourself, by the tendency for becoming, and by the tendency for views and opinions. They pull you around. There is a war in your mind. Psychology will teach you to be an integrated person, ordered and structured and successful. Means in the war you manage to find some kind of consistent behavior. Psychologists, that's all they know. If you can be consistent behavior and not cause trouble, you are finished. Psychologically complete person. They have no idea about the real development of the mind, no idea about nibbana or being an arahant. They can only take you from problems, dysfunctional personality to someone does not cause problems. Then they say you are finished. But in Buddhism, we know that is not finished. There will always be this war in the mind. The Buddha also said there is a war in the mind. There is a war going on. But your task is not to win the war. Your task is to step outside of this system. So he gave this teaching. Some of you may be familiar with this teaching. I really like this because the Buddha is very smart. He knows that he can tell you something. And you may agree, you may disagree, you may understand, you may not understand. But if he can give you a clear, simple story with smart metaphors, characters, goes into the mind more strongly. Stories, very powerful teaching tool. So he asked the monks to use the imagination and said, imagine there is a fox, there is a dog, there is a snake, there is a bird, there is a crocodile. One more. And there is a monkey. 6 animals. And each of these animals has its own place to live, its own place that it wants to go. And imagine you were to tie a rope around each of these 6 animals and tie the other end of the ropes together. So all 6 animals are tied together. Use your imagination. The fox wants to go to the forest. The dog wants to go to the village. The snake wants to go to the anthill. According to the sutta, snakes want the anthill. The bird wants to go to the sky. The crocodile wants to go to the swamp. And the monkey wants to go to the trees. So each of these animals is trying to go to the place where it is comfortable, where it wants to be. But they're all tied to each other. So what will happen? Whichever animal is strongest will drag the other animals into that direction. For me, I imagine probably the crocodile is the strongest, right? But maybe it's a small crocodile, we don't know. Maybe the bird is a very big bird. So this is a very beautiful and very powerful analogy for the Buddha to give. He also said, your mind is not one person, one being, one self. Your mind is a mass of warring, fighting components, fighting with each other. I want to sit, but I want to walk. I want to sit and walk, but I want to go and eat. I want to play with Facebook. I want to watch the boxing. When I booked my time for this meditation retreat, you know what I did? I checked on the internet, when is the boxing, mixed martial arts? I don't want to miss mixed martial arts. I want to get enlightened. I want to be an arahant, but not on the day when I can watch the mixed martial arts. I have a kilesa for martial arts. So the Buddha also described the mind as not one thing, but a mass of fighting, warring tendencies in this beautiful analogy. I want to update the analogy a little bit. I want to update the Buddha's teaching. Instead of 6 animals all tied together, I think it's very convenient for us to imagine these 6 monks on the front row tied together. Can you imagine? We tie each of them. It's very convenient. There are 6 people, right? We can tie each of them together, tie a string around their waist, and tie the string around each other. Where do they want to go? Venerable, you want to go sleep Venerable, you want to go and eat. Venerable, where do you want to go? I think you want to go play with Facebook. Venerable, oh, you are very handsome. I think you want to go and talk to your girlfriend. Where do you want to go? Oh, he wants to stay here. Okay. And Venerable, oh, his face very beautiful. I think he wants to go to Nibbana. So what will happen? We tie the 6 of them together. They each want to go in their own direction. Who is the strongest? I think you look quite strong, right? Maybe you drag everybody off to Nibbana with you. Sadhu, sadhu. In this sutta, the Buddha says, imagine second scenario. Each of these 6 animals is tied to a stout post. We have some stout posts here. Stout means strong, a strong post. Then the crocodile wants to go to the swamp, the bird wants to go to the air, the monkey wants to go to the trees, the snake wants to go to the anthill, the dog wants to go to the village, the fox wants to go to the forest, but they are tied to the stout post. They cannot go anywhere. What will happen eventually? They will all lie down exhausted. He said, this is a metaphor or a story for your mind. Your mind is at war. It is fighting with itself. The post is a metaphor for mindfulness grounded in the body, according to the Buddha. The animals want to go away, but they are tied to the post. Your mind wants to go to the things that you like, the things that you want, the things that you dislike, wants to go to your views and opinions and thoughts and ideas and plans. All this stuff you've had in your mind for 1 lifetime, 10 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes, 1,000 lifetimes, your mind has been pulled by this exact same mechanism. But now we have the mindfulness grounded in the body. Now there is a way to step outside of this system. We're not practicing psychology. Sigmund Freud or the humanists, they want to try to fix your mind, make you behave properly. It's not our practice. Our practice is to step outside of this system altogether. Cultivate that feeling of awareness, brightness, presence when you are with mindfulness grounded in the body. What happens? Yeah, you feel the mind pulling in every direction, but every so often it stops. You are left with a clear, bright awareness. For me, I experience it very bright inside the body. My mind is pulled around by many things, and then I remember, oh, that's right. I don't need to fix my thoughts, my views, my opinions, my age, my country, my temple, my body. I don't need to fix all of this stuff. I don't need to find the perfect, most comfortable spot. My mind can step outside. When it steps outside of this system, starts to become very beautiful, I like that word, beautiful, sobana citta, beautiful. So my last story I want to share with you. Also, when I was practicing, doing my psychology degree, we had to do some practical application of psychology. Either you go to the hospital to, in psychology, it's called counseling, to talk with people, help people. Either you go to the hospital, you go to meditation retreat, different places. And for me, I chose the place to go to practice psychology was an old people's home. Quite rare in Thailand, in fact. It's called Ban Ban Care. And I chose this as my psychology practical application because it's very close to my temple. I don't have to travel too far, so I picked the easiest one, right? It's always the way. The human mind, we just want to take what is easy, what is pleasant. So I picked this place. It's close to my temple. And I went with a small group of monks, and our job is to go into the old people's home, find somebody to talk to, and talk to them about their problems, their life, their issues. Well, what happened was very interesting, but I won't tell you. But before we went in, we had the chance to talk with the director of the old people's home. And she was quite a young woman. I would say maybe 30 years old. It's quite young for this kind of job. She was very smart and very intelligent, you could see immediately. And we had the opportunity to ask her questions. So my question to her was, I thought it was quite a good question. See what you think. I asked her, being a young person in an old people's home, tell me, what is the life lesson you have learned from observing the old people here in this home? Is that a good question? Everybody else asked, how old are the people? How long have they been here? How much money? Where do you get the money to run the center? I thought, no, I want to ask a Dharma question. So what life lesson have you learned? Her answer was really good answer, I thought. She said, when I look at these old people, I can see the way that they have lived their life. Because the people that lived their life always following desire, now it's still the same. But the characteristic becomes more exaggerated as they get older. So if you live your life trying to get what you want, you're an old person now and you're fighting with the other old people. You want to get the better room, the better place, the better food. If you lived your life looking after people, when you become an old person in the old person's home, you have the tendency to try and look after the people around you. If you are a person who likes to read books, when you're old, the tendency is exaggerated. You could become a very quiet person, tries to go off into the corner, be by yourself. Some people very bossy, she said. I thought this was funny. Do you know the word bossy? Means you want to be the boss. You're always telling people what to do. Sit like this, wear your robes like that, go here, go there. She said some of the people there were very bossy in their life. Now they are in the old people's home. They're still very bossy. Walk around bossing the other people around. When I looked around in this old people's home, I saw this was very true. The tendency of the lifetime becomes exaggerated, becomes fixed into the character. So this young woman, she said to me, her life lesson was, She sees the old people tendency becomes exaggerated and fixed. She says, so I want to be careful how I live my life. What kind of person am I going to become? So I like this idea from her very much, because I see a lot in the monasteries. I see the old monks. My abbot, now 95 years old, I think. He's been a monk since he was 20. I find a very beautiful character. Often I've seen, for example, when I joined Mahajula, a lot of monks, and they're very young, very excited, and sometimes behavior not so great, because they are young men. And many of them fall out of Mahajula. But some of them stay, they stay for a long time. And I see the kind of people you become. I don't know why exactly, but the system, you do your BA or MA, maybe PhD. Have you noticed? As a teacher, we notice because we see you come up from a young age to an older age. You become a more beautiful person. Hard to say exactly why you are more beautiful. You want to finish? I said that. Tan. I said Gimon. Hannity. Okay. So, this is my idea for today's Dhamma talk. That you are fighting in the mind. You are a war in the mind. You are not one person. There are many different drives pulling. We have the opportunity to step outside of the mind, outside of the wanting, the liking, the disliking, outside of the kilesa, the asava, however you like to think about it. It may be difficult to see the benefit. Sometimes you sit here, you think, my back aches, my head aches, my thinking aches, everything aches. But you're setting forward a practice of a lifetime. 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. What kind of old person are you going to become? Remember the child that would just eat the marshmallow? Is that the kind of old person you would become? Or you want to become the person that has restraint? Desires and anger and feelings and emotions don't control you. You can become the kind of person, one of those beautiful old monks, just by doing our practice day by day. Okay, so this is my offering to you today for the Dhamma talk session. Yeah.
On behalf of all practitioners, we are so thankful and appreciate for your kindness for giving the Dhamma talk for today, Prajan Bandit Bhikkhu. So now I would like to invite all practitioners to pay respect to Than Prajan together. Anjali Vanta Apivat Anjali Vanta Apivat Anjali